What is up, YouTube? Just wanted to do kind of a special breaking news sort of update here. I don't know that I'm going to make this like a regular thing per se, but I definitely thought it was important. I was working on my Kash Patel video, which you will be seeing shortly after this. So if you want to watch my review of the Senate confirmation hearing for Kash Patel, where you see him get questioned about his various conflicts, and we go into some very good hard-hitting questions from Democratic senators in there. Before that video, though, I wanted to get into some information that just broke about Kash Patel, something we wouldn't have known before the Senate confirmation hearings occurred, which is that apparently Kash Patel has been on Russian Kremlin payroll. So we'll let Midas Touch explain that for us. But then afterwards, we've got the confirmation hearing where you get to hear my takes and reaction to a lot of good questions on that. So definitely stick around to watch the confirmation hearing to learn even more about Kash Patel. But this was kind of a big deal to me. So we'll go ahead and let Midas Touch here take it away.
So we're now learning through some incredible reporting that Donald Trump's nominee for FBI Director Kash Patel was literally on the Russian payroll. This is just breaking right now. Incredible reporting from the Washington Post. They say Kash Patel was paid by Russian filmmaker with Kremlin ties, documents show. They go on to say that Patel, Trump's nominee to be FBI director, was paid $25,000 last year by a film company that has promoted anti-Western views advanced by the Kremlin, and they have proof. Documents obtained by the Washington Post show that Patel received the money from Global Tree Pictures. They're a Los Angeles-based company run by Igor Lopatinok, a filmmaker whose previous projects include a pro-Russian influence campaign that received money from a fund created by Russian President Vladimir Putin. That payment came to Patel as he participated in a documentary that guy produced depicting Patel and other veterans of the first Trump administration as victims of a conspiracy that, quote, destroyed the lives of those who stood by Donald Trump in an attempt to move the democratically elected president from office. The 6-part series that came from that ended up airing on Tucker Carlson's online channel. Are you starting to see all the Russian connections here? In any normal process, this should be absolutely disqualifying, but you know these Republicans don't give a damn about our national security. They just want to please Trump. Hey, we've got a brand new episode of the Midas Touch podcast out right now on Apple Podcasts on
Okay, so you heard it there. So through the various channels that we typically see these types of things surface, I think I would imagine that if I remember correctly, it's been some time, and I'd have to sort of brush up on the Tenet Media scandal that involved a number of popular creators such as Tim Pool, and I want to say Dave Rubin maybe as well, a couple others. That Tenet Media was paying hefty sums of money to these creators in order for them to continue to promote what they were. A lot of them were kind of already promoting, if not flirting with promoting, which was basically when it comes to the Russian invasion of Ukraine and Ukraine's defense thereof, they were making some very pro-Russian claims. And it turns out that those were coming from Tenet Media, which was a front basically for Russia trying to pay for media opinions in the United States so that they could influence Americans' opinions on the Russia-Ukraine war, which I would say definitely had an impact because obviously Trump got elected. I think that's mostly because of Elon Musk, but anyway, that's a different conversation. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to the Kash Patel hearing. Just wanted to watch that, give my thoughts real quick. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe so that you see more content in the future. See ya.
Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, I think you know that I have great respect for the men and women of the FBI, their mission, fidelity, bravery, integrity. I believe they deserve a director who respects their work and sacrifices, and they deserve a director who's focused on their mission. This is not about bingo cards or games. This is not about revenge. This is about the safety of our country and the people that work in the FBI. And the FBI runs on facts, it runs on truth. Truth matters, and without truth, the whole system breaks down. You said that Donald Trump has every right to tell the world that in 2020, 2016, and every other election in between was rigged by our government because they were. Yes or no, did you say that?
I don't have that statement in front of me. But
okay, that was from August 27th, 2023, Thrive Time show. I'll put it on the record. These claims made in that statement were rejected by courts, including by Republican judges. Is that correct?
I don't have enough of the facts in front of me to make that assessment.
I will put that statement on the record, but I think everyone in this committee, including the Republican members, knows that these statements were rejected by courts. You were asked about the police officers in the Capitol who testified in the January 6 hearings, and you accused them of lying. Is that correct or not correct?
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, Joe Pack's podcast, March 2024, we'll put it on the record. I was there.
Christ.
The police officers were heroes that day.
Yes.
Did you post on your personal social media account in May of 2024, January 6th, never an insurrection, cowards in uniforms exposed. They broke the chain of command.
I believe you're referencing a post that was shown in part earlier. I don't have it in front of me.
You posted it, and it was on your account, and we will again put that out there once more as we go on. I don't want to lose any more time on this, but every one of these, there's a record of it, and you haven't answered. You promoted a COVID vaccine reversal or detox supplement. One scientist said, I quote, "None of these substances in any form would minimize side effects from a COVID-19 vaccine." That is preying on innocent people. Did you perform clinical trials before you made that claim?
I'm not a doctor, so no.
But you did promote this supplement and told people that it would reverse or mitigate the side effects from COVID vaccine.
Did I give people an opportunity to make an independent choice for what's best for their families? Yes.
You did that last year,
Jesus
correct?
Christ.
I don't have it in front of me again, Senator.
Mr. Patel, the FBI tackles some of the most complex threats that we face.
So he said he gave people a choice to make an independent decision or something like that for the safety of their families. And after she just said that it's been found to have not worked. And after he also confirmed that they didn't do trials. So he was selling something as a COVID vaccine reversal, or he was promoting something that was alleged to be a COVID vaccine reversal that had not had clinical trials done, and also was then proven to be total bullshit and do literally nothing. But he's like, hey, I gave them a choice. You don't know. No, you didn't look into it. You didn't research it. You just bought into it because you believed in it, and you knew you were grifting off of the audience that you knew believed in it.
Terrorists, hostile foreign
insane.
powers, violent gangs, fentanyl, criminal organizations. Your mission, though, has been to go after people. I've looked at it. I've read this stuff. Yes or no? When Trump wins, did you say this? When Trump wins in 2024 and is in power in 2025, we can prosecute them, referring to Justice Department officials for an actual RICO statute violation, for criminally organizing the United States government to break the law to rig presidential elections. Did you say that, yes or no?
Again, Senator, you're reading a partial statement, so I'm unable to fully respond.
Okay, again, we'll put it on the record. X22 report podcast 20, that is from, I'll get you the date, about a year ago. One of the names on your list was Bill Barr. Chairman Grassley has called him one of the most capable cabinet officials I've ever been able to vote for. Senator Graham has said, I have nothing but total respect and admiration for the job done by William Barr as Attorney General of the United States. Is Bill Barr on your list of whatever you want to call them, been referred to as an enemies list? You've called them deep state after serving his country as the Attorney General of the United States. Is he on your list because of a personal vendetta?
Well, it's not whatever we want to call it, Senator. With all due respect, it's not an enemies list. That is a total mischaracterization.
I asked you,
And-
I actually used the words you used for the list, which was deep state, right? That's what you put at the
It is
top.
a glossary
Against
in
the
the
Attorney
back.
General of the United States. Is it because of a personal vendetta that he's on the list? You're under oath.
I have no personal vendetta against Bill
Okay,
Barr.
he said about you, you would never be able to command the respect necessary to run the day-to-day operations of the Bureau. That was actually in writing in his book. He had
Burn.
virtually, about you, no experience that would qualify you to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency, and that your appointment, as noted by Senator Durbin as Deputy Director to the FBI, would happen over his dead body. Is it, yes or no, why you would put him on the list of deep state as a former Attorney General, Trump Attorney General of the United States, because he wouldn't break the law for Donald Trump? Is that why?
Absolutely not.
As you know, he repeatedly told the president
That's
in
gotta
no
be a lie.
uncertain terms that he did not see evidence of fraud that would have affected the outcome of the election. Did you say in February of 2021 that the election stuff was never my job and I stayed out of that stuff?
Again, I don't know what comment you're referring to, but I'm sure you're reading a piece of something.
You said it on Pushback on a podcast. Is it true, though, that in December of 2020, you reached out to the Trump acting deputy attorney general and asked him to investigate a conspiracy theory claiming that people in Italy had used military technology and satellites to remotely tamper with voting machines in the U.S. and switch votes for Trump from Trump to Biden? Is that true?
What was the date?
That was out of December of 2020.
I was chief of staff to the Department of Defense, so I don't believe that's accurate in any way.
Okay, that came out of testimony before Congress. I will give it to you. Have you referred to the media as the most powerful enemy of the United States that they have ever seen? Is that right?
Again, you're reading a quote. I take that you're reading it accurately.
CPAC 22324. You said we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about American citizens who helped Joe Biden rig the elections. We're going to come after you whether it's criminally or civilly. Is that something you said?
That's a partial statement of what I said.
Steve Bannon's podcast. You also said you would put the entire fake news mafia press corps on your list. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
I don't have that in front of me.
Benny Johnson's podcast, 82123. You have said that the FBI, including today, you said that they remain utterly corrupt. This is an agency with agents who have taken down terrorists, taken down bank robbers, taken down crime. And you wrote that the FBI has become so thoroughly compromised that it will remain a threat to the people unless drastic measures are taken. Do you know that under Chris Wray's leadership, he took over at a very difficult time, we all know that, appointed by President Trump, that during his tenure, the applications to the FBI has in fact tripled? Do you think people would be applying to that agency like in those numbers if they thought it was so corrupt?
The American public's trust in it is at 40%. That's an all-time low.
Did you say that the FBI headquarters should be shut down and reopened as a museum of the deep state?
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to go an extra time?
Let's see, you get a second round. Before I call on Senator Lee.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters, where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism, should be shut down and opened as a deep state?
Hey, Mr. Chair.
As a museum. Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair.
I deserve an answer to that question. He is asking to be head of the FBI, and he said that their headquarters should be shut down.
Mr. Chair, parliamentary inquiry.
You got anything you want to say, Mr. Patel, before I go on to Senator Lee?
Simply this. If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Mr. Chairman, I am quoting his own words from September of 2024. It is his own words. It is not some conspiracy. It is what Mr. Patel actually said himself. Facts matter.
You forget that you had 3 minutes in the next round to say what you just said.
Okay, I'll say them again.
Okay. Before I call Lee.
Mr. Chair, just parliamentary.
That's so fucked up, dude. I mean, he's very performative. He's very good at you know, responding to these things with these like, you know, these performative platitudes, right? Where he's just trying to look really good and present himself like he didn't actually say that shit. Like, that's astonishing. And to, of course, try and frame it like she's somehow insulting the people who currently work in the FBI. Like, how is that? Like, to say you're going to close the Hoover building and open it as a museum of the deep state, even if he's fucking joking, which I think he's like Trump. You can't really assume he's joking about anything. You have to kind of have to take it all as real until proven otherwise, so to speak, because that's just how Trump operates. I think Patel's probably the same way, where you got to take it as true until proven otherwise. I mean, I don't think that's something he can feasibly do on day one, but I feel like he's going to get confirmed. And I feel like we're going to see some version of what he's described play out, because it's not, I don't think he's lying about that. I don't think he's joking. And she, I think she did a good job at trying to force the time. And he tried to stop. He did not want to answer that question, you could tell. And she pinned it to him, which is really smart. I think that was good.
And I'm grateful.
Ted Cruz.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Hirono.
Hirono's good.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
didn't
Chairman.
watch this yet, though. Not all the way.
Mr. Patel, as part of my responsibility as a member of this committee, I asked the following two initial questions of all nominees before any of my committees. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator, I have not.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator, I have not.
Mr. Patel, you have been a champion of the January 6th prison choir. You have stated that the choir's members were, quote, incarcerated as a result of their involvement in the January 6, 2021 protest for election integrity, end quote. And one of the choir members is Julian Cater, who pled guilty. He pled guilty to assaulting officers with a deadly weapon. On January 6th, he attacked Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick with pepper spray, and the next day, Officer Sicknick suffered from 2 strokes and died. Mr. Patel, was Mr. Cater protesting for election integrity? Yes or no?
I don't know who that is.
I'm not asking you who that is. I'm asking you whether, having heard the description of what he pled to, whether he was protesting for election integrity, yes or no?
I don't know who that is.
That
and
is not
statement-
responsive to my question. You're not willing to say that, but you were willing to
Good job cutting him off.
describe this
filibuster.
choir as consisting of people who were protesting for election integrity, and yet you testify you don't know them. We have heard already your book includes a list of 60 people who you think make up part of the executive branch deep state. Mr. Patel, if confirmed, do you plan to investigate President Trump's former FBI Director Christopher Wray? Yes or no?
I have no plans in going backwards. I have plans in
How
safeguarding.
about
this-
James Comey? Do you plan to investigate him?
Senator, every investigation will be subject to the same
Do you
legal
plan to
standard.
investigate James Comey, who's on your list?
I have no intentions of going backwards.
How about
and
Bill
every
Barr?
intention of using the Constitution.
How about Bill Barr? Do you plan to investigate him, who's on your executive branch deep state, and you say you're going to ferret out the deep state?
No one
Yes or
that
no?
did not break the law will be
It
investigated.
no answers to any of those. Okay. Over
That's
1
good.
million Americans died as a result of COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine saved lives. Yet, less than a year ago, you promoted unregulated, unproven, unscientific supplements to reverse the effects of the vaccine on Truth Social. You told your followers that these supplements would detox them of the COVID-19
That's
vaccine.
absurd.
Mr. Patel,
so
did
absurd.
you make money by promoting these supplements?
Senator, do you know of any individuals who died as a result of complications from the vaccine? Because I do.
Are you unable to answer my question, which is a straightforward, did you make money by promoting these supplements?
All of my financial disclosures have been made.
How many people died of complications related to the vaccine, like he talks about, compared to however many people died of COVID itself? I actually want to know. United States deaths from COVID versus deaths from COVID vaccine mRNA. Back in 2022, let's open the CDC one and the NIH. Okay, so they did a study, it looks like. Oh, well, that's, I mean, it doesn't matter. The number's going to be so different. Among 1,292 identified deaths, COVID 19 was cited as the cause for 30. For 101 others, a cardiac cause of death could not be excluded. Among these decedents, immunization information system records were available for 88, 3 of whom had received an mRNA COVID 19 vaccination within 100 days of death. Of 40 deaths that occurred among persons who had received the COVID 19 vaccine dose, 3 occurred more than 100 days after the vaccination. And I know millions of these vaccines have been distributed. Millions of them. So then let's go look at the so 55 cases of death. I just don't know out of how many. So from what I can identify, the known number of deaths due to the COVID vaccine is like less than 100. I'm not seeing percentages. If I saw a percentage, then I would assume that these are studies, and I would apply that percentage to the total number of individuals in the United States who've been vaccinated, but I can't get much more data from there. So it looks like it's very little. Likelihood of death from COVID vaccine. Science Direct, I don't know. CDC, okay. Let's look at the CDC. Who should and should not get the vaccine, blah, blah, blah. Severe allergic reactions, so there's some of that. Closer look at the safety data. Myocarditis. Myocarditis and pericarditis are after COVID-19 vaccination are rare. Inflammation of the heart muscle. Respond well to medicine and rest and feel better quickly. So a lot of these people don't even fucking die. I'm just gonna say, oh, reports of deaths. Let's see. Data shows that people who receive COVID-19 vaccines are less likely to die from COVID-19 or COVID-19 related complications than those who are unvaccinated. Duh. And COVID-19 vaccines do not increase the risk of death from non-COVID causes when compared to those who have not been vaccinated. So there's no causal link between deaths. That's crazy. That's crazy that he's just alleging that the people he knew who died after getting the vaccine have related to, and this website's been fucking modified to comply with President Trump's EOs. So who knows what data's been omitted because of that. That's crazy. It's being modified. I don't know that this page explicitly was modified. That's fucking nuts. So what he's alleging is basically bullshit, it sounds like. Total US deaths from COVID. Worldometer. I don't see the number. Oh, since January. Okay, total deaths. 1.2 million people died of COVID. And from what I can tell, there's a minuscule number of deaths from the vaccine. So again, even if what he claimed is true, that some people are dying from the vaccine, that, okay, your odds of death from COVID would be a lot fucking worse. A lot fucking worse. Insanity. This is the logic he's fucking using here.
To this committee.
I would like to hear your answer, yes or no. Did you make money?
I don't have
This is
those
my
financial
third and last time I'm
disclosures
gonna ask you
in front of
that
me.
question.
You have that information.
So you refuse to answer the question.
I answered
piece of shit.
1,300 pages.
You no answer, and yet you spread dangerous misinformation.
Agreed.
Mr. Patel, the FBI is the primary agency responsible for investigating election-related crimes, including fraud and the denial of voting rights. So being able to separate fact from conspiracy theories around elections is an important thing for the FBI director. I have a question to see if you can do that. Mr. Patel, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election?
Boom.
Yes or no?
President Biden's election was certified. He was sworn in and he served as the president of the United States.
Once again,
That's fucked up.
the people who are 100% loyal to President Trump cannot answer that question. It is
She's right.
alarming that you want to be an FBI director who can answer a simple question, factual question. During a 2023 interview with Steve Bannon, you said, quote, "We will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about the American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections." There's your quote. Do you still plan to come after the free press?
Not unless private citizens have been defamed. That's their right.
You said that you would be going after the media.
He
So
did
I
say
want to
that.
know whether you plan to do that. Go after the free media. Who
I
are
can't go after the media for other people. That's a decision they have.
So I would say that that was a statement that you made that is pretty chilling to the free media. So I didn't hear a no that you would not go after them. You currently serve on the board of directors for the Trump Media Technology Group, which owns the social media platform Truth Social. If confirmed as FBI director, will you resign from this position and end all ties with the Trump Media and Technology Group?
Yes, Senator, as I've stated to you in writing.
Over the last 2 years, the FBI has dedicated resources to Operation Not Forgotten, which works to address violent crime in Indian country. If confirmed as FBI director, would you continue the important work of Operation Not Forgotten?
I've made that commitment to many of your colleagues who have tribal issues and tribal crimes plaguing their communities, and I'll make that commitment to you as well, Senator.
My time is almost up, but I would like to note that on the many questions asked about the choir, the J6 choir, it included at least 5 men who pled guilty to assaulting police officers. And these are the people whose record this nominee promotes. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, we'll go to Senator.
Just very effective questioning. Didn't let him filibuster much. Went ahead and stated when he gave an answer whether he gave a yes or no or not. She's like, I mean, that no answer. So it's like you got to take it as a no, or you got to take it as a yes based on what the question was. I thought that was very effective. Hirono managed just to get a lot of questions in a very short amount of time. She did a very good job, I think, during the Hegseth hearing as well. So. Let's see who was next. Cory Booker. They went to it for a break and then they came back. Here we go.
Senator Booker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm struggling with a bit of the flu here, but thought it was really important to come.
Everybody's got flu.
Yeah, it's been pretty rough, but I appreciate the time. And Mr. Patel, if I can jump right in, 12 prosecutors, career prosecutors, were involved in an investigation in prosecuting the cases against President Trump and were recently fired. Some of those that were involved in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Do you know who Brett Reynolds is?
Maybe, but it doesn't ring a bell at this point. So
You're under oath. You have no recollection of who Brett Reynolds is?
if you could provide me with a little more context, I could possibly remember.
Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations?
Senator, just to be clear, I did not participate in any of those DOJ
Sir,
decisions.
that's a yes or no question. Are you aware of any plans or discussions to punish in any way, including termination, FBI agents or personnel associated with Trump investigations? Yes or no?
I am not aware of that,
Thank you.
Senator.
There is no evidence of wrongdoing by FBI employees involved in these investigations. If you do pursue investigations of those,
And by wrongdoing, I would assume, Senator Booker here is implying no politicization, as in there wasn't somebody, George Soros or fucking Joe Biden weren't going to these FBI agents and being like, hey, look, hey, listen, you got to look into Trump, okay? You got to look into Trump. You got to do it, okay? All right. I'll buy you a new Maserati. You got to look into Trump. There was nothing like that going on. There's just no evidence of it. It's ridiculous. Kash Patel's one of those people that likes to claim that things were politicized. Any investigation against Trump was politicized. And that's what Booker's calling out here. But I don't know that, he's got the flu. So him having the flu, he might not be able to ask sorry, I shouldn't say that. He has the flu. He might not feel like getting really cutting too deep with these questions, or he may want to get to his other questions. We'll see.
those involved, will you commit to using standard processes, including a standard review by the FBI Inspections Division and the Inspector General?
Senator, I will honor all those review processes.
You will honor those review processes.
Yes, Senator.
If these are actions that the FBI employees, if there are actions against FBI employees that do not follow those standards process that happen before you get in, will you commit to reversing any decision prior to your arrival so that those standard processes and the standard review by the FBI Inspections Division will take place?
I don't know what's going on right now over there, but I'm committed to you, Senator, and your colleagues that I will honor the internal review process of the FBI.
Have you made any commitments to anyone about pursuing any investigations or targets if you are FBI director?
Only violent criminals and terrorists.
Have you had any conversations with anyone on the transition team about pursuing any investigations or targets?
Only following the Constitution.
Again, are you certain?
That I have told people on the
Are you certain? Have you had any conversations with anyone on the transition team about pursuing any investigations or targets?
Senator, to the best of my recollection, I've only said I will use the Constitution.
Have you discussed specific investigations or targets you would pursue as FBI director with the President of the United States?
Senator, to the best of my recollection, no.
Are you certain?
To the best of my recollection, no.
According to public reports, you were subpoenaed by the federal prosecutors to testify as a witness before the grand jury investigation investigating the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. And you testified before the grand jury, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you were before the grand jury, you pled the fifth on the basis of self-incrimination, correct?
I utilized my constitutional rights during that process with the advice and consent of counsel and appeared before that grand jury.
I will take that as a yes. And you are familiar, I imagine, with Section 6002 of Title 18.
Off the top of my head, Senator, not.
Well, Section 6002 is the immunity statute. Whenever a witness refuses to testify or provide other information before a grand jury based upon the privilege against self-incrimination, the court can order the witness to testify. The witness must comply with the order, but they receive immunity, which means that no testimony or any other information provided before the grand jury can be used against them in any criminal proceeding. You were compelled to testify as a witness in the Mar-a-Lago classified document case. Did you participate in any criminal conduct involved in that case?
Involved in which, the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case?
Yes.
No, I testified through compulsion by court order.
You received immunity for providing information that was self-incriminating. Do you remember the name of the prosecutor who questioned you?
There were multiple, Senator. I do not.
Was it one of the people, were any of them people that were fired this past week?
I have no idea, Senator.
Are you certain? You're under oath.
I'm aware that I'm under oath, Senator, and I have no idea, and I did not participate in the removal of any DOJ prosecutor.
What was the information you provided that you received immunity for?
Senator, I would love my grand jury testimony to be released, but as you know, that grand jury testimony has been sealed by the Department of Justice, and I'm not allowed to discuss it here.
Well, I find it troubling that you do not know the law here, and let me tell you what the law is. Rule 6 governs grand jury proceedings. Under Rule 6E, grand jurors, court reporters, and prosecutors are bound to secrecy. But witnesses are not bound by secrecy. You were a witness in the classified documents case. You are not bound by secrecy. You can tell us everything that happened in that room and everything you testified about. I'll ask you again, what information did you provide to the grand jury?
In this, we are agreement, Senator. Get my grand jury testimony. I want it made public. I asked the Department of Justice to make it public, and they refused to do so.
There is no legal bound against you telling us right now
I don't understand
what you testified to.
When I asked for my transcript to be released, the
Sir,
Department
did
of
you or did you
Justice-
not commit a crime?
Senator, I did not commit a crime.
Then why won't you tell us what you testified to?
Because it occurred over the course of 3 weeks. I don't have the ability to recall everything I testified to, but I'm asking you to put my
Did you testify
transcript
to
out.
witnessing the President of the
As if
United
it's Cory
States
Booker's decision.
declassifying documents?
Senator, what I testified to is best captured by that transcript
So
in real
you're
time.
not willing to tell Congress, after making many pledges today about transparency, whether or not
Right.
you testified
Kinda
to
looks
witnessing the
hypocritical, bud.
President of the United States declassify documents. In the name of all the values you have said today, did you or did you not testify to witnessing the President of the United States declassify documents?
I testified accordingly and under oath, and I encourage you to get that transcript.
And by the law of our land, you are free to tell people, what are you hiding from Congress? Answer the question. Did you testify to witnessing the President of the United States declassifying documents, yes or no?
Senator, the grand jury testimony is available to you. I encourage you to make it public.
As you likely know, the second volume of
What a
Jack Smith's
sack of
report
shit.
about the classified document case is not public yet. To fulfill our constitutional duty of advice and consent, the President, on nominations, members of this committee have asked the DOJ to review the report. Do you agree that Congress should thoroughly review its nominees? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Now, last question and I'll be done. When you and I met, you told me that you wanted to remove 11,000 FBI personnel or move many of them, and you said that again today. You have looked at an org chart to understand what offices and functions that you'll be pulling from. I don't think you've done a serious analysis, but I do think you have an assignment from Donald Trump to gut the FBI. You said yourself, I'll shut down the FBI Hoover building. There are people specifically that you are targeting, I believe. And do you agree that you have already prepared plans to remove certain individuals from their offices? For example, individuals that will be replaced by political personnel. The political personnel that are being put in an institution that you and I discussed that has no political appointees but one, the political personnel involve these names: Erica Knight, Tom Ferguson, Greg Bittner.
You stated your question. Would you answer? Or don't you want to? Okay.
We can move on.
Senator Blackburn.
What a douchebag.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Patel, there
God, what a douchebag. All right, let's go to the big one. Let's watch the big one. Fucking Adam Schiff, who just rightfully grills this dude.
Resources to go into our jails and find those already in prison and with pending deportation orders, with pending violations of their parole status. So if I'm confirmed, the full resources of the FBI, where appropriate, will be committed to that cause, but I believe primacy rests with other agencies.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Senator Schiff.
Mr. Patel, early in this hearing, Senator Durbin asked you about the January 6th choir of inmates whose song you promoted, and here's what you said. I did not have anything to do with the recording. I did not have anything to do with the recording. Do you stand by that testimony, Mr. Patel?
Senator, what I said was I didn't do the recording.
You said you didn't have anything to do with the recording, which is interesting because here's what you told Steve Bannon on his podcast. So what we thought would be cool is if we captured that audio and then, of course, had the greatest president, President Donald J. Trump, recite the Pledge of Allegiance, then we went to a studio and recorded it, mastered it, digitized it, and put it out as a song now releasing exclusively on the War Room. We. If you had nothing to do with it, Mr. Patel, why did you tell Steve Bannon and all his listeners that you did?
That's why it says we, as you highlighted.
Yeah, and you're part of the we, right? When you say we, that includes you, doesn't it, Mr. Patel?
Not in every instance.
Well, that's new. So when you said we, you didn't really mean you. Is that your testimony?
Not unless you have a new definition for the word we.
Oh, okay. I always thought we included the person who pronounced the word, but maybe not. Well, you also said this, Mr. Patel. We were able to capture the recording thanks to their courageous singing, and we were able to take it to a studio. So let me ask you, Mr. Patel, after saying we took it to a studio, did you take it to a studio?
Me personally, no.
After you said that
But you
we
had somebody do it.
digitized and recorded it and all that.
Like this is like Andrew Wilson. This is the semantics discussion. Like, well, no, I had my assistant take it to the studio. You know, like he's like fucking avoiding any guilt in this, any part of this, because he didn't physically go do something. We implies that someone did it with your agreement or your blessing in some capacity. When you say we, you are taking ownership of something. That's exactly what he was doing.
Did you take it to a studio and digitize and record it?
Me personally, no.
Okay, so you were lying to Steve Bannon and his audience. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was using the proverbial we appropriately, as you've identified.
The royal we. Oh, I see. And so you certainly promoted the hell out of it, though, didn't you?
I don't know what that means, but I promoted the heck out of raising money for families in need.
With promotions on social media and saying you were going to get this to #1 on the billboards, right, Mr. Patel?
I think it did.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Isn't that great? People who violently attack police have a #1 song thanks to you, Mr. Patel. That's something to be really proud of. Now, you've claimed, Mr. Patel, you didn't know about any of these people in the choir. Is that right?
I did not know about the violent offenders, and I did not participate in any of the violence in and around January 6th.
Tell me, Mr. Patel, what due diligence did you do to find out who was in the choir before you promoted their beautiful music? These people who assaulted law enforcement. What due diligence did you do?
Senator, I didn't record it myself.
So you did no due diligence before you promoted this song by these violent felons. Is that what you're telling us?
Senator, I did not record that myself.
So you're being considered for director of the FBI. And here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them you're proud of what you did, Mr. Patel. They're right there. They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never, ever accepted violence against law enforcement. I've worked with these men and women, as you know,
you
my entire
glorified
life,
it in song,
and I did not make a single dime out of it.
In song. Well, let me.
How about you ask them if I have their backs, and let's see about that answer.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Patel. Let me ask you this. If an FBI director promoted a song of people who sprayed pepper spray in the face of an FBI agent, would you say they were fit to be director?
Mr. Schiff,
Yes or no? Would they be fit to be director?
I am fit to be the director of the FBI.
If you were the FBI director and you promoted a song with someone who beat an FBI agent with a pole, would you say you were fit to be FBI director?
Mr. Schiff, I am fit to be FBI director based on my 16
And
years
yet
in
you
government
did all these
service.
things, Mr. Patel. You can say, oh, I support law enforcement. I decry violence against law enforcement. You can say all that. It's what you did, Mr. Patel, that matters. It's what you
Right.
did that matters.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you about something else that you did, Mr. Patel. Did you claim that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago? Did you claim that?
In what proceeding?
To the public, ever? Did you tell anyone that Donald Trump declassified all the documents at Mar-a-Lago?
From publicly available information, President Trump issued a declassification order on a variety of
No,
materials.
I'm just asking you, did you tell the public, did you tell anyone, did you make the claim that Donald Trump had declassified those hundreds of classified documents that were at Mar-a-Lago? Did you make that claim
From
publicly?
my best of my recollection, I said President Trump issued a declassification order to a large number of documents.
Yeah, and were you present when he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents?
Senator, I'm not saying he declassified all the Mar-a-Lago documents. I said President
so now-
Trump declassified a large number of documents, and I would hope this committee and the rest of Congress would want to get those documents to the American people.
Mr. Patel, before a president or anyone declassified documents, wouldn't you want to know whether making the public would cause sources to be killed? Wouldn't you want to know that before you just declare they're all declassified? Wouldn't that be the responsible thing for a president to do?
It was the responsible thing for us to do. That's why we declassified the Nunes memo.
And did Donald Trump declassify?
And no one died.
And did Donald Trump ever ask
he references
any of
one
the
document.
agencies who produced those documents whether declassifying them would put people's lives at risk? Did he ever do that to your knowledge, Kash Patel?
I don't know that he didn't. Do you?
No, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem, isn't it? So let me just ask, Mr. Chairman, if you would, Mr. Patel has said he has no problem. He would support the release of his grand jury testimony in that case. I would ask you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, to join me in requesting, with Mr. Patel's approval, the release of those grand jury transcripts. And I would also ask Mr. Patel whether you support the release of Volume 2 as it pertains to you of the special counsel's report. Any reference to you in the report, to your truthfulness, will you support the release to this committee of those sections of Volume 2 of special counsel's report?
I support following the law and providing whatever information the law requires.
Well, you said to the Wall Street Journal that you support transparency. Here's your chance, Mr. Patel. Do you support release of that to this
Transparency,
committee?
bud.
Yes or
There
no?
you go.
Your time's up. Before I call on Senator Tillis,
What an
I have
asswipe.
letters here from law enforcement groups representing 310,000 officers supporting Mr. Patel's nomination.
I think that was the last one I care to watch in this hearing. There was nobody else that at least I felt gave really. I mean, Hirona went again, but I think she did great. Booker went again. I think Schiff really he gave the hardest hitting interview there. There are so many Democrats that I think are kind of soft spined on a lot of these issues, and it's kind of concerning in a lot of ways. He did really well here. He asked, I think his questions for RFK were less.
Responses to those actions may be. My own personal
But he gave, I don't know, the questions he uses here are pretty hard, and he hits really hard with these. Tulsi, I don't know. She seems to be one of the more dangerous nominees here, if not the most dangerous. Her questionable connections to Russia are pretty big question. Red flag. Red flag. He gets into how deep it seems that she is with Russia. Also, I guess she was close to Gaddafi at some point. If anybody remembers the guy who gassed his own people, that's Gaddafi. I think it was gas. I think Saddam Hussein did something like that too, but I think he gets into that here too. So this is pretty
Chairman,
crazy.
I would like to repeat my colleague's question to you. Thank you for being here. To answer these questions and for your service. Was Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, I will also repeat my answer. He broke the law.
You said earlier that you were offended by a question that my colleague from Kansas asked, which I think was his duty as somebody on this committee to fulfill his responsibility to advise and consent. We are not here to be a rubber stamp for the President of the United States. So let me ask you again, do you believe, as the chairman of this committee believes, as the vast majority of members of our intelligence agencies believe, that Edward Snowden was a traitor to the United States of America?
Senator, if confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will work with you to make sure that there is not another Snowden-like
social
leak.
media. It's not a moment to propagate theories, conspiracy theories, or attacks on journalism in the United States. This is when you need to answer the questions of the people whose votes you're asking for to be confirmed as the chief intelligence officer of this nation. As my colleague said, this is not about you. It's about the people that serve the intelligence agencies of the United States. Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America? That is not a hard question to answer when the stakes are this high.
Senator, as someone who has
your
served
answer,
in
yes
uniform,
or no, is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
as someone who has worn our uniform in combat, I understand how critical our national security
Apparently
is.
you don't. Apparently you don't. Let me ask you. I've worked very.
She can't even get close to answering the question. Not even close. Tries to give some canned response that she literally already gave. She literally said, "I'll give you the same response," because that's the only response that she's probably written to that fucking question. She has consistently and repeatedly, she has praised and upheld Edward Snowden as some sort of hero. You know, I understand that there, I think there was one good thing that was exposed in what he did, but otherwise, I mean, he violated the security of our nation, and that's why he fled from the U.S. to hide out in, I believe, Russia and China over various years. He's probably going to pay a pretty big price if he ever comes back to this country. So her upholding him is kind of a big deal, I think, if you ask me.
Very hard to put your own words here in front of the committee. Not, fake news, not conspiracy theories on the internet, but the actual things that you have said. On February 23rd, 2022, at the very moment that Russian tanks were rolling across the peaceful border of Ukraine for the first time, you tweeted at 11:30 p.m. your time, "This war and suffering could have easily been avoided if Biden administration / NATO had simply acknowledged Russia's legitimate security concerns regarding Ukraine's becoming a member of NATO." Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet, Senator.
Yes is the answer. A few months later, you said on your podcast, and I quoted it,
World of Warships. Oh my God.
this regime change war against Russia that the U.S. and NATO are waging via their proxy in Ukraine didn't begin when Putin invaded Ukraine. They had their eyes set on this objective long before that. Did you say that, yes or no?
I believe you're reading my tweet.
Thank
There's
you.
a lot
the answer
more.
is yes.
You're quoting a podcast that provided much more
I'm happy to have a
context.
conversation with the chairman about whether I'm taking anything out of context. I don't think I am. And your
Not the
answer
thing you're
is yes.
super wrong about.
Are you aware
fucking
that
stupid.
your comments about proxy wars and Russia's legitimate security concerns, to quote your own words, are in alignment with what the Russians have said to justify their invasion of Ukraine? Yes or
Senator,
no?
I don't pay attention to Russian
So I'll
propaganda.
take
My
that as
goal
the-
is to
I'll
speak
take
the
that as
truth,
the answer is no.
regardless of whether
Thank
you like it or not.
I'll take it. That's fine. You said you are used to speaking truth to power.
Yes.
I'm shocked to hear you now say that, you know, you are agreeing. I'm not shocked because I know you said it. You are agreeing that you basically said that Putin was justified in rolling over the peaceful border of Ukraine, the first time since World War II that a free nation had been invaded by a totalitarian state. And you were there at 11:30 p.m. that night to say that you were with them, not us. And let me tell you something. You say you don't know because you don't read Russian propaganda. Russian state TV then aired your comments. Did you know that?
Senator, I think you should also quote the statement that I made criticizing Putin for his invasion
What
of
I
Ukraine.
would say, Mr. Chairman, with the last, it's up to all of us. We're the Senate. We get to decide whether we're going to confirm this nominee. Obviously, we didn't select this nominee. But can't we do better than somebody who doesn't believe in 702? Can't we believe that somebody who can't answer whether Snowden was a traitor 5 times today, who made excuses for Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the first time that I'm aware of any American official has done that? I'm questioning her judgment. That's the issue that's at stake here. And as you said, and I totally agree, this is about our intelligence officers. And you cannot answer. Most of what we do here is in secret. This is one of the very few opportunities that you will ever have to have a conversation with this panel in public. And the record is going to be very clear about the position you took with regard to Edward Snowden. And the record is going to be very clear about your reaffirmation of the statements you made in the middle of the night when Russia was invading the free country of Ukraine. And I hope we will take that in consideration when we have this vote.
Your time has expired. I will never.
Yeah. Great line of questioning from him. I just, you know, I don't give a fuck if she's, you know, said anything criticizing Putin, right? I mean, Mitch McConnell, just to use an example here, Mitch McConnell condemned Trump's actions on January 6th, yet he still very much votes mostly with MAGA and capitulates to Trump. Tulsi can speak some words to criticize Putin, but it's ultimately her actions and how consistent she is that's the concern. And more consistently than not, she is in support of Russia in the invasion. I mean, that's literally what, you know, I hate when people try to refer to this as a war. Yes, it's a war because Ukraine is fighting back. Duh. Of course they're fighting back. It's an invasion. It's an invasion. Russia, literally. Pretty much. And what I've heard is that it was almost in the exact same minute or two that they had begun their invasion that she had sent out that tweet. Like, she was ready. Why was she ready? Why was she so ready to have that tweet, right? It says to me a little bit about her loyalty, if nothing else, right? It's frightening, terrifying. That was less than 3 years ago, everybody. That was less than 3 years ago. You really think that she's pulled a 180? The invasion itself should have pissed anybody off. Why didn't it upset her? Why didn't she take a stance against it? That is such a big deal. Such a big deal.
Came about because there were 2 reasons. One, that assessment was made with high confidence and low information. The information that they had came from those on the ground in an al-Qaeda controlled area and therefore were al-Qaeda linked sources. And there was conflicting information that came from the UN's Office on the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons Inspectors, as well as an MIT professor, Ted Postel,
So I
who
want to talk
looked at
about him
these
for a
extensively.
second. So did you look into his credentials, yes or no?
Yes.
And were you aware of his appearances on Russian Today, which is used by the Russians to disseminate government-approved messages?
No.
Were you aware Postal relied on a chemistry student with a record of defending the Assad regime?
At that time, I was not. I have been made aware since.
Do you consider this person or these two individuals now, do you consider them a better source for the chemistry of sarin gas than the U.S. intelligence community?
I assess that at the time, the information, I don't know the second person you're referring to, but MIT professor Ted Postel and the inspectors of the OPCW provided some credible questions that deserved examination.
Okay, thank you. Did you attempt to weigh Postal's claims against the significant evidence and assessments already conducted by the IC?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. So here's my concern here, Colonel. When we began this, you described a thoughtful approach to analyzing intelligence and reaching conclusions. This is what we expect of our professionals. But we just kind of walked through how you came to question Assad's use of chemical weapons in these two cases with a different approach. And I don't reject seeking out differing viewpoints. We need to do that. But you started from a place of doubting the conclusions of the U.S. intelligence community, and then you sought out information that confirmed your viewpoint. That led you to embrace the opinions of two individuals that I think we disagree on this. You think they had expertise, I do not, and others do not. But these individuals were sympathetic to Russia and the Assad regime. It also led you to minimize or discount the overwhelmingly information that contradicted your viewpoint, including the expert assessments of our own intelligence community. And they don't get it right 100% of the time. I get that. But what I have seen makes it clear that at the same time that you were skeptical of our intelligence community's assessments, you would not apply the same skepticism to information that came from sympathizers of Russia and Assad. And I think that's something that we should all be concerned about. Thank you. And I'm sorry for going over my time.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. I want to.
So that was real quick, but I mean, I forgot that it was Mark Kelly who did the questioning about Assad. You know, and I don't know, he didn't really drill her too hard there, I don't think. That's just not what, Mark Kelly isn't that type of senator when it comes to these questions. I think he just tries to ask thoughtful questions, and I think he overestimates the intelligence of a lot of the people who might watch these in terms of just voters, to see how they, you know, for how they react. Yeah, I thought that those were kind of the bigger highlights of hers. I don't know, her hearing, I don't remember getting very spicy. Could there have been somebody else good? Oh, they went back to him. Oh, maybe he did bring up Assad again. Let's go watch Mr. Bennett's.
Thank you again for hanging in there with this discussion, Colonel Gabbard. The House Intelligence Committee review of the Snowden disclosures found not only that he was a traitor, but that since Snowden's arrival in Moscow, he has had and continues to have contact with Russian intelligence services. You can see the deep concern on both sides of the aisle here. You had.
So that makes sense. Just like Gabbard capitulating to Russia, it seems Edward Snowden's guilty of the same. I knew he fled to Russia. I didn't know if he went to China first or what, but.
In your opening statement, all kinds of complaints about former officials in the intelligence agencies, the United States press, the journalists, the media, Democrats, suggested that you weren't being treated fairly when you were coming here. No condemnation at all for this, which leads me to wonder why it is so hard for you to say that Edward Snowden was a traitor to our country. And the question I guess I have for you is, how, if you can't say that, you feel that the concerns that this committee has, that we need somebody here who will actually honor their oath, as you said. Maybe I should make it easier for you. Edward Snowden did not honor his oath to the Constitution, which is what you just said was the most important duty, most important obligation that you have in this role. Why is he being treated like a folk hero by you instead of the traitor that he was?
Senator, as I said, my focus and what should be of relevance to all of you and everyone watching is what I will do as Director of National Intelligence to work with you to make sure there's not another Snowden-like leak, given the paramount importance of our national security and keeping our nation's secrets. I've laid out a number of ways that I intend to do that, if confirmed, in fulfilling my responsibility in this role.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.